Srila Prabhupada ki, Srimad Bhagavatam ki, I go Premante. Om Ajnana Timrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahiyam Dati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Padikamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagrana Raghunatham Katantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagrana Lalita Shri Vishakharnitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tattvatamsini Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwanamurte Pranamani Hari Priye Sindhubhyavacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today I thought we do some exercise. Yeah. And like many of you, I also come unprepared. So let's see how much successful we are. What I wanted to do is, like we have been speaking about Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, we were speaking about Prabhupada yesterday. And if what we are discussing right now, if you do not understand the concepts, if you understand the concept, that's fine. And if you understand the concept, it's no harm repeating it today, because some of you already are scholars, so please forgive me if I'm repeating the obvious. But as we know that in material education, we go linear and we just get more and more information. But in spiritual knowledge, we actually go around in circle, and we go around in circle, make it more and more concentrated, like how we boil the milk, to ultimately make it rabdi. Yeah. So, I wanted to connect what we studied in chapter 10, Canto 10, few verses, and then link it with what we are studying now, because we just completed Canto 10, chapter 14, some verses, and we are starting with Canto 1, third chapter here. So I want one volunteer who can just scribble something here on the whiteboard, so you can take your notes at the same time right here. So you have to be quicker than me. I'm like your Vyasdev and you are like Ganesh. So I mean, I shouldn't be speaking like that, but as far as today is about, any volunteer I want, one volunteer. And we can't choose the youngest, because anyone can take. Okay. Doesn't matter whether your writing is good or not, doesn't really matter. All they need is some service, that's all. So let's go to 10th Canto, chapter 14 we're doing, right? On your phones you can take it out, yeah? I'm going to be slow because I'm using hotspot here. So, 10th Canto, chapter number 14, right at the end, where Parishad Maharaj is asking that how come the gopis felt more love for their boys and the cows felt more love for their vatsas, in that 1 year. And then Srimad Goswami is giving the theory, right? So let's start first with what is the objective of our life? First question. It will be quick. What is the objective of our life? Because I've been told to finish at 8:45. What's the objective of our life? To think of Krishna. What else? It's all artificial answers. Please don't give me artificial answers. Right on top. Why are we going to a job? Why are we buying house? Why? Was that happy? Yes, to be happy. The objective is to be happy. Yes? Or do we all agree? Yes? Give me a big thumbing yes. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Because I will make sure that you are awake today. So, why are we not happy then? Why are we coming to Krishna consciousness? Objective to be happy. Yeah, objective to be happy, yeah. Why are we coming to Krishna consciousness? I was happy with my big house, with my nice car, with my job, with my whatever it is. Why am I coming to Krishna consciousness?
You are not happy.
You're not happy? How many of you say not happy?
You wanted something more in you. Because that happiness doesn't last.
The happiness doesn't last, yes, very good. The happiness is flickering, as Rupa Goswami says, chapala sukha. So happiness in the material world is flickering, right? So that's why we are here sitting on 7:30 in the morning on Sunday morning. Yes, do you agree? Yes. Okay, now let's go to 10:14, 50, verse number, maybe 49. 49, so I'll read. Even if you're slow in getting your thing, I'll read here. So 49 is, King Parishad said, O Brahman, how could the cowherd women have developed for Krishna someone else's son, yeah? Such unprecedented pure love they never felt even for their own children. Please explain this. Then Sukadeva Goswami explains this. For this reason, O best of kings, the embodied soul is self-centered. He is more attached to his own body and self than to his so-called possessions like children, wealth and home. Do we agree? That I am more attached to myself than anything else. Yeah? Gokula Prabhu gave a nice example. If you are all sitting here and we hear that the tree fell outside and crashed a car, what do you think? Is it my car or not my car? If it's not my car, then I won't be worrying. If it's my car, then I'll run from here. But if the car is damaged, but there's a fire here, then what will you try to do? Save the car or save yourself?
Save yourself.
Save yourself, yes? So this verse signifies that. The embodied soul is self-centered. We are self-centered, right? For this reason, he is more attached to his own body and self than to his so-called possessions like children, wealth and home. Does that make sense? We are more. So if we have to say, you have a big family, and if someone in your family is sick, distant relative, you feel some sort of some pain. If someone in your own, like siblings and all that is sick, you feel more pain. If someone in your own family is sick, the pain will be more. If you are sick, the pain will be the highest. So Sukadeva Goswami is trying to explain that point here. Are we all on the same page? Yes? So the next question is that the embodied soul is self-centered and we give the most importance to our body. 52. Does anyone want to read the translation of 52 loud enough? So 10, 14, we started with 50. 10, 14, we started with 50. Yes, Mami. Loud.
Only the translation.
52, yes.
Indeed, for persons who think the body is the self, O best of kings, those things whose importance lies only in their relationship to the body are never as dear as the body itself.
Yes. So indeed, for those who think the body is self, so we think that the body is myself, right? And things which are important, they are related to me in bodily terms. Yes? So we can try to items related to body are dear to us. Now what did Prabhupada do? Did he take care of his family, own family? Yes? How many yes and how many no's? Okay.
He did in the initial stages, but later he divorced.
He sacrificed, as they say, you sacrifice one child for the family, one family for the village, one village for the state or whatever, one state for the country, and whatever it is, it just goes like that. So Prabhupada, yes, he was not in the bodily concept of life, he wanted to save the world. So in a way he sacrificed his own family. Of course, he helped them as much as he could, but he was not attached in any way that he could feel the pain if they are materially suffering. He was feeling the pain, but he was detached also, like how we feel pain for each other here, right? But for the good of the humanity, he sacrificed that. So you can see that he was not in that bodily concept of life, but if we are in the bodily concept of life, so this is what happens, right? And we have understood that if we are in bodily concept of life, we will not be happy because of the temporary nature of such happiness. Yes? Any questions? Because I want you to think deeper and probe and ask questions. Because if you just accept, without asking questions, that's okay. But it's better to ask questions, understand the concept very thoroughly. Okay, next is 53. If a person comes to the stage of considering the body mine instead of me, he will certainly not consider the body as dear as his own self. After all, even as the body is growing old and useless, one's desire to continue living remains strong. What does this verse say? What does this verse say? If a person comes to the stage of considering the body mine instead of me, so what happens here in this stage?
Differentiate between the body and himself as a soul.
Yes, very good. So he starts differentiating when we come to Krishna consciousness. This is the first thing we do. Theoretically, even though it's theoretical, we don't realize this yet, we don't realize. But theoretically, we understand the differentiation between the body and the soul. Do you get it? Yes? Theoretically at least? How many of you realize that I am the body, not the soul? No, be honest. You realize that?
I mean, realize, but not put it in practice every day.
Okay. So,
at least you hear every day.
yes.
Prabhupada is just
Hammering that point.
hammering point,
Yes.
so that we know that. But
Now I'll come to the point where we actually can put into practice how we can actually come to that stage. Yeah. So as of now, some of us are sort of semi-realized, some of us are just theoretically understand. Yes? Mataji, what do you think? Theoretically understood, little 10%, 15% realized, 50% realized, fully realized.
I'm stuck on the previous verse, Prabhu.
Are you stuck in the previous verse? You want to go too slow? You want to go?
Prabhu, I'm thinking, he says here that we love our family, our belongings because they are related to the body. But I think, for example, the father and son, they are related because of the body. But if there is a difference, then they separate or something, then that love is not there.
Okay.
So it's not always that we love people because we have a bodily connection.
Okay.
Don't we love people or things because of our heart connections and the time we spend together, memories we live? So
Okay.
sometimes bodily relations.
So first of all, then we need to understand one thing. Before this difference started, right? You loved your brother, not you, but anyone loves the brother and the father, right? The father and the son love each other. But because of the ego, when the distinction, the difference of opinion happens, then the ego becomes bigger than the relationship. Yeah. So that my body and my mind becomes bigger than that relationship, the extension. Yeah. But then if you understand that everyone is a part of Krishna, then we'll somehow try to sort. Even devotees, between the devotees there are differences. You know, after I've got the center, there are differences between the devotees, right? I heard recently one class where they said that when the Vaishnavas are having different opinion, the Krishna stands and watch. It's an interview. But of course, in this case, as I always say, that proper communication is very important. If you communicate properly, you know the answer of two people, right, who are standing very close to each other. They're in very much physical proximity. Why do they shout at each other?
They don't hear.
Why do they shout at each other?
Because they are discerning their opinion.
Yeah, but they can same thing be said in a softer voice. It's not that they're shouting at each other because they can't hear each other or whatever. Their hearts are way apart. Even though physically they are closer, but because the hearts are way apart, they're thinking, my ego, if I don't prove myself right, this person no one understands. So that's why we shout, because our hearts are apart. So me and my ego. So in this verse in 53, we come to a stage where I understand that there is a soul present in the body. Till now, till we came to ISKCON, we didn't even know that. How many of us knew that I have got a soul within me? Maximum I knew, I had mind. That's about it. Right? And even then I thought, mind is me. Not that it's my mind. Yeah? Do we agree? Okay, there you go. So, you understand that Bhagavatam, 10th canto, in Bal-Linga, after such an important pastime, Sukadeva Goswami is repeating this basic theme again. Why? Very important. It's very important. And that's why I thought let's do this exercise. Is it okay? Yeah. Okay. So the stage we have come that, we understand that the body is mine. And then it says, but still the second part of this verse of 53. Can someone read the second part from he will certainly? Loud? Or we can get the other mic.
He will certainly not consider the body as dear as his own self.
Yes. So he knows I am not the body, so he says, I want to save myself, right? But then he says,
after all, even as the body is growing old and useless, one's desire to continue living remains strong.
yes, because he thinks that without a gross body of my legal name is Arvind Sheth, so I will be very unhappy. I don't want to give up my home, my car, my family. But as I mentioned before, Bhakti Purushottam Maharaj in his book Death, he explains, it's got a very nice book, completely written on death. Just imagine that, what a topic, death. He writes that when we as devotees, when we are leaving our bodies, we should understand that I'm leaving this house, this family, this everything here to get a bigger house, a bigger family, and much better possessions to serve Krishna. Yeah? So even when the body is growing old and useless, one's desire to continue living remains strong. Anyone who's in nursing or in medical field, they will know that people are so attached. And people, they just don't want to die, and there's so much anxiety in them. That's why what they do is administer morphine, so that you don't even know that you are dying. Because the consciousness goes down. And again, I say Kadam Kanand Maharaj, he actually conquered death because he didn't take any painkillers. He was completely conscious of himself, at the same time completely conscious of Krishna. Okay, let's go on 54. I'm also mindful of the time because I want to go to the first canto and then discuss the practical points. 54. Therefore, it is his own self that is most dear to every embodied living being. Yes? So when you come to that stage, therefore it is his own self that is most dear to every embodied living being. And it is simply for the satisfaction of this self that the whole material creation of moving and non-moving entities exist. This is just one word. Now read it very carefully, this verse. Very, very important. What does this verse give you? One word. So now whose own self?
It's our own self. It's our own self.
Who?
So we
Soul, the jiva, right? So then it is his own self that is most dear. So I am most dear to every embodied living being. And it is simply for the satisfaction of this self. So how do we satisfy the self? One word. what is, what comes out of, what is the only function of the soul?
So Krishna's
That's in a pure state. But right now we're talking of myself. Okay, one word. Desire. So it says, and it is simply for the satisfaction of this self that the whole material creation of moving and non-moving entities exists. So Krishna makes this entire material creation to fulfill our desires. Right? Me and my desires. Yeah? So this we understand that, everything attached to me is important, but I am more important, so my desires are more important. And because we are a variety of people here, and extrapolate that to the variety of living entities, poor Krishna has to create so many facilities for us to fulfill our desires. Make sense? Yes? So when we read these verses, we should understand, yes, what? Actually, when I read this verse first time, didn't understand. Second time, didn't third. I still didn't understand this verse. What is it trying to say? For self, I want to be Krishna conscious, but I didn't realize I don't want to be Krishna conscious. Actually, I don't want to be Krishna conscious. How many of us want to be Krishna conscious? Really? We are not supposed to be here then. In a way that we have got the material body. Why? Because we don't want to be Krishna conscious. And that's why we are here. But now we have got a chance because of Prabhupada that we are going to, become Krishna conscious and not worry about whatever happens in the material world. Yes? Good? No, this is fine. We can take photos afterwards. Don't erase them. I think they got on the thing. Maybe it doesn't matter. Okay. So did we get this? 54? Yes. 55. Someone who's read the translation, please. Gunesh.
You should know Krishna to be the original soul for all living entities. For the benefit of the whole universe, he has, out of his causeless mercy, appeared as an ordinary human being. He has done this by the strength of his internal potency.
Yes. So now what's Krishna doing here? Just think.
For the benefit of human.
Yes. Wonderful. So first of all, we should know who's Krishna here in this verse.
Original soul.
Soul of all living entities. Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chetananam Eko Bhavdati Yovidati Kama. So Krishna is the original soul, and we are all parts and parcels of Krishna. So what does Krishna do? First of all, what does Parikshit Goswami say? You should know. So Bhavamai Mataji, Vrajlakshmi, Nilima Mataji, Keshini, everyone should know, yes, that Krishna is the original soul of all living entities. And then what it is to do? For the benefit of the whole universe, he has, out of his causeless mercy, appeared as an ordinary human being. Just imagine this. Why should he come here? Because of the mercy of Krishna, unlimited Bhakta Vatsala Shakti. He has done this by the strength of his internal potency. So we'll come to that, internal and external potency. So he has created the world out of his external potency. Yeah, we are all part of his external potency, not now, when we are going out of the center. Then, now we are in the internal potency because we are discussing Srimad Bhagavatam. And that's why, because we can oscillate between external and internal, we are called Tatastha Shakti. Tatastha means one who sits on the fence. Marginal potency. Tata means bank of the river. So someone on the bank of the river is neither on the land nor in the river. So it's called Tatastha Shakti. Okay? We'll just do probably one more verse here and then we'll switch to first canto where we are supposed to be. Who wants to read the 56th verse translation?
Prabhu, can I?
Yes, please.
Those in this world who understand
Lord Krishna as he is seeing all things.
Okay, so there should be comma, I'm not saying that it should be written. But those in the world who understand Lord Krishna as he is, comma, see all things, yeah, then?
Whether stationary or moving, as manifest forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such enlightened persons recognize no reality apart from the Supreme Lord Krishna.
Can you repeat that once again, the whole translation, please, Bhagavatam?
Those in this world who understand Lord Krishna as he is, see all things, whether stationary or moving, as manifest forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such enlightened persons recognize no reality apart from the Supreme Lord Krishna.
Okay, thank you, Bhakti. So what does Bhagavatam say here? What does Sukadeva Goswami say here? I want answer from you. It's exercise okay? Are we doing okay or? Is it like, yeah?
Basically,
No, Arthur, sorry.
So those who are enlightened
Mm-hmm.
see Krishna in everything.
Yes, very good. Very good. And he says whether stationary or moving, because he's used that word phrase before also, yeah, as manifest forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we see Krishna everywhere. Okay, then? Second part.
And then the second part is that there is no reality apart from Krishna. Krishna is everything.
So which are the two verses, which are the two things we have to do, and everything else is a servant of those two?
Krishna,
Louder, louder.
always remember Krishna.
Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. So this verse signifies that we see Krishna in everything, so we're remembering everything. And then second part it says that these persons recognize no reality apart from the Supreme Lord Krishna. So because they see Krishna in everything, stationary or moving, they do not forget Krishna at all. Now are we at that stage? So if in percentage terms you have to write in a daily, in a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, in a yearly basis, how much of your life is like this in percentage terms? 2%, 20%, 50%, 80%, whatever it is. I don't want an answer now, but just you analyze yourself. Okay, so we understood this. I am the soul. Everything related to the soul. With the body, I love it, but most I love is myself. And then to fulfill my desires, Krishna has created this material world. But if I know that Krishna is the supreme soul of everyone, then I will never always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Yes? Easy? Yes, thank you. Let's go to first canto chapter. What chapter are we? Third chapter, right? If anyone wants to take a photo, you can take a photo now. Or we can share in the group. Someone can take a nice photo and then share in a group. I hope Viraj Prabhu doesn't mind me doing this.
Krishna is the original soul. He comes in this world, yes.
So that fill in the blanks we have to do.
To fulfill the desire of the
Yes.
Why did Krishna make the souls have the desire in the first place?
Why did Krishna make? Okay, give them okay. Why did Krishna make the souls which have desires in the first place? There's something which is natural in everything. Yeah. Naturally we want to be happy. Naturally the sugar is sweet. Naturally the water is wet. So naturally the soul has to have desires. Yeah. And naturally Krishna wants us to go back to Him. That's naturally. Naturally, even we want to be with Him. But the moment we get contaminated, we want to be here. Something which is natural. Yeah?
Can I add something?
Of course not.
Because Krishna wanted
because Krishna has given us a free will as well.
Yes, that's what we're going to say, yes.
Yeah, so the free will is manifested in the form of desires, but that free will is very little, so there's not a lot of scope. We can only desire, but whether our desire will be fulfilled or not depends on a lot of factors like what kind of karmas we are doing, whether we do have good credits from past lives, otherwise we might wish, but we still not get the desire fulfilled. But Krishna is very merciful. He has made arrangements in this system, so we can actually fulfill our desires, if not in this lifetime, but in other lifetimes when we have enough credits, but providing he sanctions it, because ultimately he is the one who can, ultimate desire is his. So if he wants, he may sanction. If he doesn't, therefore our free will is limited in scope.
Thank you. So as we discussed before, that the free will is the only thing which Krishna gives and it doesn't take away. He always gives that, yeah? It doesn't take away. The free will we have, and that's the, we talk as desires. Yeah? And because each one of are different, and Krishna says in 2:12, right, that which are all individual and eternal, so we all have, our individual desires, and we want to act accordingly.
In other words, we can think Krishna wanted individuals, not robots. If he had not given us a free will, then there won't be much fun, because we will do whatever exactly he wants, just like we program the robots.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Madhu. So let's go back to now 1:3:28. Is it okay if I go a few minutes late today? I mean, over time? Because all of you came late, I came on time.
Yes.
So let's recite this verse together. Ete cham sakala pumsha.
Ete cham sakala pumsa.
Ete cham sakala pumsha.
Ete cham sakala pumsa.
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam.
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam.
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam.
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam.
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam.
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam.
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam.
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam.
Mridayanti Yuge Yuge.
Mridayanti Yuge Yuge.
Mridayanti Yuge Yuge.
Mridayanti Yuge Yuge.
So maybe what we can do is one by one we can start reciting, and by the end we should be able to remember this verse. All of you can have your own techniques of remembering, right? One by one, first 2 lines, first 3 lines, whatever, and then we can see, help each other, yeah? Okay? So if you can recite without looking, that's better, but and if you are not the reading, then you should not look. Okay?
Etesham kalapumsha.
Etesham kalapumsha.
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam.
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam.
Indrari Vakulam
Indrari Vyakulam
Lokam.
Lokam.
Mridayanti Yuge Yuge.
Mridayanti Yuge Yuge.
Ete cham sakala pumsa.
Ete cham sakala pumsa.
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam.
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam.
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam.
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam.
Mridayanti Yuge Yuge.
Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. One thing I want to say, that I was born in Bihar, and people from North India, they say Kamsa or Chamsa, and Prabhupada translates as Kamsa or Chamsa. It's N, not N, it's M. So Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa, not Ete Chamsa. So we will follow what Prabhupada says, Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa. The other tip I want to give you is that every time you recite, if you want to look at the verse, the purpose should be to become perfect. So even if you are making some mistake, the first time, second time, third time, fourth time, you should say, okay, this is what I made a mistake. This is what I made a mistake. I mean, just so that we can recite perfectly at the end of, whatever, this class or when you recite. That's what I do in my own practice. That when I recite one verse, then I understand the meaning. Then, second, third, fourth time when I recite, I see what mistakes I've made and what the proper pronunciation is. Is it okay? Yeah.
Ete chamsha kala pumsa.
Ete chamsha kala pumsa.
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam.
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam.
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam.
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam.
Mridyanti Yuge Yuge.
Mridyanti Yuge Yuge. Okay, so one more tip from here. Sorry. I'm not trying to find out your mistakes, but I just thought if we know the basics, it will be much better for us to learn. So here in English, the word D, sometimes it pronounces the. But in Sanskrit, it's da. There's a difference between da and da. Like ta and tha. Like that. So it's mridayanti, da. Damru. Right? Yes, mridayanti yuge. So if you read the Sanskrit or the Hindi, or the Devanagari, then you can say mridayanti. Please, da. In this case. Please don't feel, that if I'm not pronouncing it correctly, then no, there's nothing wrong. Nothing wrong, please. So we are trying like children, so even if you make mistakes, we must just keep on doing it. Endure and don't give up.
Ete chamsa kala pumsa.
Ete chamsa kala pumsa.
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam.
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam.
Indriya Vayakram Lokam.
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam.
Mridayanti Yuge Yuge.
Mridayanti Yuge Yuge.
Ete chamsa kala pumsa.
Ete chamsa kala pumsa.
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam.
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam.
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam.
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam.
Mridayanti Yuge Yuge.
Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. Now can I request one thing? Can you sing this verse? Whatever best way you can. Do that. Try.
Ete chansa kala pumsa.
Ete chansa kala pumsa.
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam.
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam.
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam.
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam.
Mridayanti Yuge Yuge.
Mridayanti Yuge Yuge.
Ete chamsa kala pumsa.
Ete chansa kala pumsa. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Indrari Vyakulam Lokam. Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. Thank you so much. Okay, now if we can remember all the tips I gave before and then sing, it's just, this adds so much, and then when we are on our own and when we recite these verses, it feels, like so much devotion. We are connecting to Krishna. Who are we speaking about? Krishna. What are the qualities? Yes, we have described all the kalas and all the, all the incarnations, but Krishna's to Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna's to, okay, I'm not a singer, so I won't try, but one of you can try.
Ete chamkala pumsa.
Ete chamkala pumsa.
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam.
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam.
Indradi Vyakulam Lokam.
Indradi Vyakulam Lokam.
Mridayanti Yuge Yuge.
Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. Thank you, Mother. Very nice.
Ete chamsa kala pumsa.
Ete chamsa kala pumsa.
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam.
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam.
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam.
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam.
Mridayanti Yuge Yuge.
Mridayanti Yuge Yuge.
Thank you, Keshni. So nice.
Ete chamsa kala pumsa.
Ete chamsa kala pumsa.
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam.
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam.
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam.
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam.
Mridayanti Yuge Yuge.
Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. So nice. Thank you, Mother.
Ete chamsa kala pumsa.
Ete chamsa kala pumsa.
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam.
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam.
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam.
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam.
Mridayanti Yuge Yuge.
Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. Very, very nice.
Ete chamsa kala pumsa.
एतेषां सकला पुंसः
कृष्णस्तु भगवान् स्वयं
कृष्णस्तु भगवान् स्वयम्
इन्द्रारिव्याकुलं लोकम्
इन्द्रारिव्याकुलं लोकम्
मृडयन्ति युगे युगे
मृडयन्ति युगे युगे. So nice.
एतेषां सकला पुंसः
एतेषां सकला पुंसः
कृष्णस्तु भगवान् स्वयं
कृष्णस्तु भगवान् स्वयम् इन्द्रारिव्याकुलं लोकम्
मृडयन्ति युगे युगे
मृडयन्ति युगे युगे. Thank you, Mataji.
एतेषां सकला पुंसः
एतेषां सकला पुंसः
कृष्णस्तु भगवान् स्वयं
कृष्णस्तु भगवान् स्वयम्
इन्द्रारिव्याकुलं लोकम्
इन्द्रारिव्याकुलं लोकम्
मृडयन्ति युगे युगे
मृडयन्ति युगे युगे. Very, very nice. Thank you, Mataji.
एतेषां सकला पुंसः
एतेषां सकला पुंसः
कृष्णस्तु भगवान् स्वयं
कृष्णस्तु भगवान् स्वयम्
इन्द्रारिव्याकुलं लोकम्
इन्द्रारिव्याकुलं लोकम्
मृडयन्ति युगे युगे
मृडयन्ति युगे युगे.
एतेषां सकलः पुंसः
एतेषां सकलः पुंसः
कृष्णस्तु भगवान् स्वयं
कृष्णस्तु भगवान् स्वयम्
इन्द्रारिव्याकुलं लोकम्
इन्द्रारिव्याकुलं लोकम्
मृडयन्ति युगे युगे
मृडयन्ति युगे युगे. Thank you, Mataji. So nice. See, when you sing like this on our own, whenever standing in the first queue or wherever we are, we can be happy. Nothing will bother us. And that's what it is when there's suffering there. As I said, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. So when we're standing in the heat in the bus, pain will be there. But when we immerse ourselves in these verses, no suffering. So let's then get to the next verse, which is the Falashruti. Can someone want to read the translation, please?
Whoever carefully recites the mysterious appearances of the Lord with devotion in the morning and in the evening gets relief from all miseries of life.
Okay, so this is the Falashruti. We heard about Falashruti before. And then let's go to the next verse, verse 30. Translation, please.
The conception of the Virat, the universal form of the Lord, as appearing in the material world is imaginary. It is to enable the less intelligent and neophytes to adjust to the idea of Lord's having form. But factually, the Lord has no material form.
Okay, I want one more volunteer to rub this and start writing again. This is service. We don't have to be shying away from service. The service which we are doing to all the Vaishnavas present here. So we are thinking, why me? You won't get prasadam then. And mind you, this what we did was the hiring exercise for when we want the shloka pronunciations to go in the group. So we have to vote on who is selected among us. Okay, thank you. So now we are not seeing Krishna everywhere, right? That's the current position. Correct? We are not seeing Krishna everywhere. How many of us see Krishna everywhere, every time? No one. Are you seeing Krishna everywhere, every time? Okay, thank you, Mataji. Maybe next week we should do class.
I forget.
Prabhupada said this, one disciple said, Prabhupada, sometimes we fall into Maya. But sometimes remember Krishna. All the time we are in Maya. So, Krishna very kindly, as we saw, he comes in the material world as a Narakriti. But even then, people don't want to know him. So then what does he do? Then he speaks this verse, right? Sukadeva Goswami. At least when you see the Virat form of the Lord, right, as appearing in the material world, of course later in the second canto, the third canto, the whole Virat root conception of the planetary system is described. Now, do we know, honestly answer this question, do we know anyone who actually understands this conception of Virat Roop and see Krishna in that? Yes or no? Do we know anyone? No. And the closest we know is the Aboriginals here who worship nature and then they see God in nature. Yeah, that's the closest we know. Some people when they see nature, they can see God in that. You know, when I was in my uni days, I used to remember this song, Ye kaun chitrakar hai, ye kaun chitrakar. Does anyone know this song? Hari bhari vasundhara ko tum niharna, चमका दो आज लालिमा अपने ललाट की, कण कण में गूंज रही है छवि विराट की, ये किस कवि की कल्पना, ये किस कवि की कल्पना का चमत्कार है, ये कौन चित्रकार है, ये कौन चित्रकार. So when the poet is looking at the nature and like a canvas, he's thinking, who is this painter who has painted this wonderful creation? And he says, who is the poet who has actually imagined this? Ye kis kavi ki kalpana ka chamatkar hai. He's actually referring to the God, to the Lord, but he's speaking like that. So people like them, they are seeing in this universal form the Lord. We've discussed this verse yesterday, so let's move on to the next verse. Okay, now before this, okay, this is again continuation of the 1-31. I want you to go to 1 to 11, and someone who's got the mic should read that translation. 1 to 11, the Sanskrit and the English translation. 1 to 11. Where is the mic? Yeah. Anyone can read.
वदन्ति तत्तत्त्वविदास् तत्त्वं यज्ञानमाद्वयम् ब्रह्मेति परमात्मेति भगवानिति शब्दते. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma or Bhagavan.
So what is a non-dual substance, right? Advayam. Advayam means non-dual, just one. But they know this one non-dual, the absolute in 3 features. Yeah? Which are the 3 features? Brahma, Paramatma and Bhagavan. We've discussed it before also, right? The Jnanis, they want to merge into Brahma Jyoti, Brahma. The yogis who are meditating within, they want to know the Supreme Personal Truth accorded by the Paramatma feature within, and the devotees, the bhaktas, want to know Bhagavan, the person, as an individual. Yeah. Now, does anyone know what are the categories of people which Prabhupada describes? He says karmis, jnanis, yogis and bhaktas, right? So we spoke of karmis before we came to Krishna consciousness. We're karmis. And actually karmis doesn't mean that one who just does his work and enjoys the result. That's not karmi. That's actually lower than a karmi. Right? A karmi is one who actually does his karma according to the Vedic injunctions and then enjoys the results. When we cut off karma kanda, we're actually doing according to Vedic injunctions. Raise your hands, how many of us are actually doing karma according to Vedic injunctions? Even now, not many of us. Before coming here, we didn't even have an idea, no clue at all. So the lowest is the karmis. Yeah? The lowest is below the karmis who are just acting for my self-gratification. Why? Because I love myself, I have desires to enjoy. Yes? Higher than them is the karmis who are actually acting according to the Vedic injunctions, but they are utilizing the results for sense gratification. Higher than them are the jnanis. Jnanis, they are knowing that it's all useless, temporary. Let me at least get the highest stage of Brahma realization. But because they are intellectuals and they find it hard to have faith in a person, they want to just find who's the ultimate authority, and then our scriptures describe them as Jnanis, and they want to go into Brahma Jyoti. Are we okay? So far so good? The next category is yogis who are meditating. Does anyone know any proper yogi? I'm not talking about bhakti yogis, I'm just talking about just general yogis. Even if you've heard of the yogis, how many of you read the book, Radha Swami's first book, what's it called? The Journey Home. How many have read that book? If you have read that book, in the beginning, Maharaj is in the meeting, many yogis in many different parts of India. So the yogis who are there, how many of you have seen some videos of Kumbh Mela? Yeah. I asked not many people would have gone there, right? So in videos, so these are all yogis. Yeah, different yogis. I'm not going to go into detail. And then there are devotees, bhaktas. Prabhupada wants us to be bhaktas, devotees who can have relationship with Krishna. So this verse now, after understanding that 1 to 11, then you go to 30 and 31. So 31, 1, 3, 31, let's go to that. If you want to get up and do some yoga exercise for half a minute, you can do that. We won't go very long. I'm trying to finish, in time. So 1, 3, 30 and 31. So 30 we saw the Farashruti, or 30 the devotee seeing in the nature, the Virat Rupa. And in 31 the misconception is there. So clouds and dust are carried by the air, but less intelligent persons say that the sky is cloudy and the air is dirty. Similarly, they also implant material bodily conception on the spiritual self. What that means, I always refer to, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. In Bhagavad Gita, 5th chapter, verses 8 and 9. Can someone take out Bhagavad Gita 5th chapter, 8 and 9? When I read the first time this book, Bhagavad Gita, this was my benchmark, that I want to come to this platform. 5, 8, 9. Who wants to read it? With mic, can you mic, please?
Translation?
Yes, translation, please.
A person in the divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving or opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects and that he is aloof from them.
Yes? Opens our eyes. Can you read that slowly, Mataji? 5, 8 and 9 again. Please pay attention here.
A person in the divine consciousness.
Okay, so are we in divine consciousness? That's the qualification to be in divine consciousness, yeah?
Although engaged in seeing.
Seeing. So when we see things, do we think that my body is doing it and I'm not seeing it? No, we always say, I watched a nice movie. I saw a nice this, I saw a bad accident. Yeah, okay. Seeing.
Hearing. Touching. Smelling. Eating. Moving about. Sleeping. And breathing. Always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all.
Yes. So who is he?
The soul.
Yes. Then what he says?
Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving or opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects and that he is aloof from them.
Yes, so when we come to this stage, then we can say, I'm in divine consciousness. We are not at this stage. Yeah. So we try to understand. Krishna is trying to give us a lot of choices. You want to see God in nature? He tells you, okay, yes, 1:3:30. 1:3:31. Okay, we see even clouds, and as Prabhupada says in the purport here, that even though the sky and the cloud are different, but in general parlance, in general speaking, we say the sky is cloudy. Or pollution in Delhi. No, it's completely different. The air is different from the dust. But we speak of pollution in Delhi. That's general parlance. So similarly, the example is given that for us, this verse says, they also implant material bodily conceptions on the spirit self. So when we do these things in 5.8 and 9 in Bhagavad Gita, we are doing the same thing. I am seeing, I am hearing, I am touching, I am smelling. Are we here? Yes? I can see Sundara and Mataji smiling. This is, I'm sorry to expose ourselves, Mataji, but this applies to all of us. Let's go to the next verse. Beyond this gross conception of form is another subtle conception of form, which is without formal shape and is unseen, unheard and unmanifest. The living being has his form beyond the subtlety, otherwise he could not have repeated births. So what is Sukadeva Goswami speaking about here? No. You can actually say that. You can actually say that. The Prabhupada's purpose is something different. So beyond this gross conception, so we saw about the gross conception, right? What we can see here and all that. Beyond this gross conception is another subtle conception of form which is without formal shape and is unseen, unheard and unmanifest. This, the living being has his form beyond the subtlety. So who is this living being? Soul. So this is beyond this subtlety also. So there is the gross body, there is the subtle body, and then there is the soul. And that's why the evidence is given here that because of us being spirit souls, we are even beyond the subtlety of mind, intelligence and false ego. And that's why otherwise he could not have repeated births. If you see the last paragraph, so he's describing here both the Lord and the living entity as being spiritual. Yes? So we are spiritual and the Lord is spiritual. The conclusion is that the Lord is eternally existent and in his transcendental form, which is neither gross nor subtle like that of the living being. So our form, us as identity is soul. Yes? But our form is gross and subtle. And where is described? Which verse in Bhagavad Gita? The gross and subtle elements of our bodies are described? Chapter 7, 4 and 5, yeah? Where Krishna says, 5 gross elements, earth, water, fire, air and ether, and 3 subtle, mind, intelligence and false ego. We are made up of this, but on top of that there is the soul enjoying, exploiting. So the conclusion is that the Lord is eternally existent in his transcendental form, which is neither gross nor subtle, like that of the living beings. You can write here, Prabhu, that the Lord is spirit, we are spirit. Lord has got completely spiritual form, we have gross and subtle form.
Which is above the gross, which is above the gross body and the subtle body, the transcendental form.
Yes, the soul. The soul is above that in hierarchy. Yeah. But then Krishna, Prabhupada also describes here that this Virata Rupa form is given to us just to understand the concept. Right? But Prabhupada says here all such conceptions of God's body are imaginary. Because we'll immediately relate. I am a soul, I am a spirit soul. God is a supreme spirit. I have the body, so God also should have a physical body, gross body. But Prabhupada said no. The scriptures are explaining us that this is imaginary. Krishna doesn't have any gross form. His form is Sachidananda Vigraha. And then he compares the gross, the body of the Lord and our body. The body of the Lord is completely spiritual, whereas our body is made up of gross and subtle elements. I can see we are getting to the stage where we want prasadam. But we still have some time. Okay, so next verse, 33. Whenever a person experiences by self-realization that both the gross and subtle bodies have nothing to do with the pure self, at that time he sees himself as well as the Lord. Which feature of the Lord is this? How many features are there? We just described this. Yes? So which feature is this described here? Yes, very good, Paramatma. So whenever the yogi experiences by self-realization that both the gross and subtle bodies have nothing to do with the pure self, at that time he sees himself as well as the Lord. That's automatic. When you realize that I am the spirit soul, I've got nothing to do with the material body, automatically you realize Krishna and you are the servant of Krishna. Sorry to make it too technical on a Sunday morning, but these are the verses. I thought this is the easiest way I can explain you. Please forgive me if I'm being like a boring teacher. In school at least we could bunk the classes. Here we are coming voluntarily. So blame yourself for that. Don't blame me. The difference between self-realization and material illusion is to know the temporary or illusory impositions of material energy in the shape of gross and subtle bodies are superficial coverings of the self. Right? So here, Sukadeva Goswami is explaining how the yogis, when they start advancing in their spiritual lives, they understand that I've got nothing to do with this gross and subtle body. They realize I am the self, and then they can see the Lord. Now, if anyone wants to write, we're not going to discuss that because of lack of time, but 6:20 to 23 in Bhagavad Gita, 6:20 to 23 will give you a yogi's perfection. A yogi's perfection, 6:20 to 23. Now the second paragraph of this verse. Someone who has the mic can read it please. Starting from this perfect stage. This perfect stage.
This perfect stage of self-realization is attained not by artificial means.
Okay, so just wait here. It's not attained by artificial means. Like a guru touches the disciple and the energy passes. It doesn't happen like that. Okay?
But under the lotus feet of the Lord, who is always transcendental. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that He is present in everyone's heart, and from Him only all knowledge, remembrance, and all forgetfulness takes place.
So which verse is this? No, but which verse is? Yes, 15:15. Sarvasya chaham riti sannivishto matta smriti jnanam apancha. So Krishna says that yes, present in everyone's heart, and from Krishna comes knowledge, remembrance of forgetfulness. Now Prabhupada explains why this happens. Continue.
When the living being desires to be an enjoyer of material energy, illusory phenomena, the Lord covers the living being in the mystery of forgetfulness.
Yes, so when we be enjoyer, we'll forget everything else. Yeah? And in Bhagavatam there's a very nice story of a man running, and behind him is a tiger. He falls in a well. Then he thinks, oh, how am I going to save? Then he sees a rope. How can I get out? The rope is a snake. He's hanging on a snake. White mouse and black mouse biting him. It's day and night. Wonderful description. But he thinks, and one drop of honey is falling from the top, from a honey comb, honey pot, and it just falls on his tongue, and he thinks, so nice. There's a tiger there. He's holding a snake. Rats are biting him. The snake's down, and he thinks, I'm enjoying life. So this is what Krishna does to us. When the living being desires to enjoy material energy, the Lord covers the living being in the misery of forgetfulness. Do you experience that? Yes, very much. Scriptures do not, my friend, scriptures do not tell us anything which is not practical. Even though this was spoken perfectly 5,000 years ago, it still applies now. I mean, more than 5,000 years ago. Yeah, okay, go ahead. Question.
And thus the living being misinterprets the gross body and subtle mind to be his own self. And by culture of transcendental knowledge, when the living being prays to the Lord for deliverance from the clutches of forgetfulness, the Lord, by his causeless mercy, removes the living being's illusory curtain, and thus he realizes his own self. He then engages himself in the service of the Lord in his eternal constitutional position, becoming liberated from the conditioned life. All this is executed by the Lord either through his external potency or directly by the internal potency.
So he says, and thus he realizes his own self, he then engages himself in the service of the Lord, right? We'll speak about the service a little bit later. Okay? Next verse, 34. Read the translation, Keshini.
If the illusory energy subsidizes and the If the illusory energy subsides and the living entity becomes fully enriched with knowledge by the grace of the Lord, then he becomes at once enlightened with self-realization and thus becomes situated in his own glory.
So if the illusory energy subsides, so when we are performing devotional service, the illusory energy will subside. And the living entity becomes fully enriched. That's what we want our lives to be. We started with, what is the goal of life? To be happy. My goal is not to be self-realized, Mataji. I want to be happy. Right? So, if you want to be happy, it says here that and the living entity becomes fully enriched with knowledge by the grace of the Lord. So we are getting the knowledge, we are praying for the grace of the Lord, and when we perform devotional service, the illusory energy subsides. Then he becomes at once enlightened with self-realization and thus becomes situated in his own glory, means in our own position. Yeah. So here in this verse, Prabhupada starts, because the Lord is the absolute transcendence, all of his forms, names, pastimes, attributes, associates, and energies are identical with him. His transcendental energy acts according to his own omnipotency. The same energy acts as his external, internal, and marginal energies, and by his omnipotency, he can perform anything and everything through the agency of any of the above energies. Yeah. And then Prabhupada continues giving the example of the electrical energy. You can use that in heating in cold places, and you can use that in cooling in hot places. The same energy can be used in heating. When Vidura came to advise Dhritarashtra that please accept Pandava's proposal. All they're asking for is just 5 villages, just give to them, and and then he was speaking to Dhritarashtra because he didn't consider Duryodhana as worth speaking to. What happens here in the Sabha? Duryodhana starts insulting him. Who you are speaking, and you are a Dasi Putra, you are a Putra of a maid servant. You are not even among us, you are not even equal to us. Prabhu Hare Krishna, my obeisances. Welcome to Krishna. So, Duryodhana is insulting Vidur. Now here we see the external and the internal energy working. Vidura is standing and he immediately realizes that Duryodhana is actually acting under the illusory energy or the external energy of the Lord. But in the same situation, what does Vidura do? He understands, I cannot behave like him. I cannot retaliate. When we retaliate, this is what happens. We are also acting under the same energy. When someone attacks us, Vallavi's got a very nice thing on her wall. She made a card. It says, wait, pray, respond. So if someone does anything to us, to hurt us, to attack us something, we wait. Then we pray. And then we respond. Because by then, we are actually invoking the Lord's internal energy. So Vidura, he didn't react. He thought, Krishna, please guide me. And then he realized that Duryodhana is acting under the external energy of the Lord, and in my case, I have to act under the internal energy of the Lord. He just kept quiet and he left. And he left, he didn't turn back, and he just didn't come back. So this is what, the scriptures teach us, that we have to be taken shelter by the process of devotional service. Prabhupada has given us, now I'm going to come to the last part of the class. We've realized our identity in the 10th canto, 14th chapter. We saw also how different ways we can see the Lord, different ways that different people can see the Lord. In our case, we are trying to be bhaktas. How do we do that? So what is the first thing when we do when we get up? Is pray to Guru and Gauranga, pray to Krishna. And then we say, whatever I do today, can I please offer it to you, my Lord. And today, I want to be a better devotee than yesterday. Yes, so we start our day like that. Now there's a prayer which actually takes us from the mode of ignorance where we're sleeping till at least even though if we do it mechanically, but when we do something mechanically afterwards, it just becomes a habit, and then you go deeper and you realize that. We get up while getting ready, we can put a class, we can just chant. I try to recite verses, remember verses. So even that time, we are thinking of Krishna. And then we get ready, we put Vaishnava clothes, have tilak, and then we start our chanting. Chanting, of course, mind is going everywhere, but when we focus more on the holy name, and then as this verse says, with Krishna's name, with His grace, His form, His pastimes, His abode, His qualities, everything will be revealed to us slowly. Now don't think that if I'm chanting Prabhu for 2 or 5 or 10 years, why doesn't Krishna reveal Himself to me? How many lifetimes we have not chanted for? Millions and millions of lifetimes. And 2 years or 3 years or 5 years is nothing compared to that. Then what do we do? Either we do little puja, or we have some deities, or we read Prabhupada's books. And we read Prabhupada's books, we should read like this, connect the dots. Today I was trying to connect the dots here. Yes, this is how the 10th canto we studied, this is how the 1st canto speaks, this is how different personalities do that. In my position, what should I do? Let's take any of the bhajans or any prayers we take. Sansara Dava Navadida Loka. Right? If we recite that prayer, asking for mercy from Gurudev and praying to the lotus feet of Guru, so many wonderful realizations will come from that. Then, before we take prasadam, which we're going to do now, in about next 1 hour, no, not 1 hour, 5 minutes. What do we chant? Let's analyze that. Sharir Avidya Jal. What does that mean? Jal means network. It's a trap. It's like a mesh. Sharir Avidya Jal. My body is a network of. Really? I look so handsome. I'm so intelligent, Prabhu. What are you talking about? I'm so, like this, so young, so this, so that. Sharir Avidya Jal. And then what is it? Jadendriya Tahikal. And on top of that, all the indriyas, all the senses are like jad. Now they're just like completely burdensome. We are thinking I want to enjoy my senses. But the scriptures say, Jadendriya Tahikal. One time we had His Holiness Jananda Maharaj come to our place for prasadam. So I was serving him, and then before he started, he folded his hand and says, let us identify ourselves. So, Sharir Avidya Jal, Janendriya Tahikal. Then what he say? Jihva fele Vishya Sagare, Jiva. The tongue has fallen in the Sagar, the ocean of sense enjoyment, Vishaya Sagare. The tongue has fallen into the ocean of material enjoyment. Jiva fele Vishya Sagare, Tar Madhya Jiva Adi. in that the tongue is there. Lobhamoy suturmati. We are very greedy to satisfy the tongue. Then what do we say? Instead of, the tongue has got two jobs. What are the two jobs? Eating and speaking. Chanting comes later on. I can understand that you're all pure devotees, but I want to come to that stage also. That I am not remembering. No, I'm honest. Please don't. I'm serious here. I'm serious here because I cannot judge anyone. And I'm serious that I want to come to that platform where I can chant all the time, but that's not happening. Tongue speaks and tastes. So Tara Madhya Jivahati, Lobhamoy Suturmati, but Take Jata Kadina Samsara, Krishna Pradhayamoy. Krishna is very merciful. What does he do? Krishna Pradhayamoy, Kori Pare Jivajoy, Swa Prasad Anna Dilobhai. So Krishna has given us Swa Prasad. Prasad means? What is the meaning of Prasad? The mercy. Krishna's Prasad is here, the flower garlands. Krishna's Tulsi is here, the flower. Whatever is Krishna is giving, the word Prasad comes from Prasanna. When we offer to Krishna with love and devotion, he becomes Prasanna, and then whatever he gives us becomes Prasad. So, Sayan Amrita Pao, Radha Krishna Gunagao. So we are having the Annamrita. Not only Anna, it becomes Amrita. It gives us immortality because we understand I am the soul, never going to die. After this life, I want to go back to Golok Vrindavan or anywhere where my Guru Maharaj gives me some service. So we identify this, and when we recite all these prayers, every Saturday here in the evening we recite the Tulsi prayers. We meditate on those verses, and by reciting these prayers, I hope all of you have got that little temple bhajan book in your homes. If you go through those temple bhajan book, recite the prayers, and then meditate on those prayers, simple things. And slowly we can see that from our existence at material level, we are coming to the level where we can think of Krishna 50, 60, 62, 64, 64 and a half, 70% of the time, 80%. And then we remember Krishna all the time, even then we are not liberated. Can we stay without Krishna even for a moment? That's the question. How much we love him? How much do the Brahmana's wives love him? How much do the gopis love him? How much does Rukmini Devi love him? How much does the Gopa Vrinda, they love him? So this is the stage. Of course we can't come to that stage, but we can serve them by becoming the servant of the servant of the servant, even in the spiritual world. So this way, if we meditate, if we learn the prayers, if we recite these prayers and live our life accordingly, all of us are doing the same thing. Get up in the morning, get ready, go to work, come back, take the kids to their activities, and wash clothes, dry clothes, iron clothes, whatever has to be done. But while doing these things, if we can add one item every day, one item every week, one item every month. There's a chart which Keshav Maharaj gives in his Bhakti life. I can share in the group daily things, weekly things, monthly things and annual things. Like annual things, what we can do is go on a yatra with the devotees. Once a year we can do that. Yeah. So Festival of Fiji, I am the marketing manager here. If you are not booked and if you are not made your accommodation and travel, please make arrangements. Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Mahaprasad ki Jai. Any questions or comments? Any reflections? Any challenges? Anything? Why should we show Krishna? Because we just heard Krishna is the soul of all souls, right? And if we do not serve Krishna, our position will be not our natural position, not our constitutional position. If you take out a fish out of water and give them biryani and aludam, will they be happy? No. So for millions and millions of lifetimes we have tried to serve our senses, and we have not been happy ever. And therefore Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati used to say that we have given millions of lives to sense enjoyment, just give this human life to Krishna. You have got so much money. If you give, like $1,000 or $5,000, what's the big deal? Yeah. Of course, our loan is also remaining, so you can repay that. But, we have given so many lives to sense enjoyment. Why not give one lifetime to Krishna? What's the harm? Yeah? Makes sense? Yes. Okay. Was it okay today?
Thank you.
I thought,
You said in the beginning that you came unprepared, but you gave so many references from Bhagavad Gita. Like you read translation and then instantly you can relate it. That's so nice.
It was an exercise that we are all doing together.
Yes.
So I also was learning, and I was also trying to just remind myself that, all the time just do that. So the next time when the husband is driving or the wife is driving and when they make mistakes, remember this. Yes? What happens when the kids are driving, they make mistakes? What do you say? Arey, how kya kare se? Sabko chala yaar? No, you have to be patient. Yeah. So yes, we can actually introspect on a daily basis and see, where we can improve, what faults do I have. But generally, we don't see our faults. There's the ego propping up again. But when we actually do some introspection, humility means, what is the definition of humility? I heard one very nice definition. You ready to hear this?
Yes.
Introspect and be honest. Introspect and be honest. So if we introspect and we see, I have no love for Krishna, I want to have more and more love, what can I do? But normally what I think? Sakira, you are such a good devotee, such a nice class you gave. People were so happy. No? It's completely opposite. So we have to introspect how much did Prabhupada do for us, how much did our gurus are doing for us, how much love did the residents of Vrindavan have. Just think. And we don't even have to look that far. We see devotees around us working so hard. Can I do a little bit more? Thank you, Hare Krishna.